So in this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to play the song Free by Phish. Within this, we're going to look at how to play that main lick or riff, whatever you want to call it, from this song, as well as the chords to each of the parts, and finally how you can solo over this at any skill level. By the way, if this kind of structural breakdown is helpful, I do this every week inside of Tough Club. As a member, you'll get access to the full lessons, complete with PDF practice routines, backing tracks, and tablature for everything shown in these videos. Start your free trial by clicking the link below to sign up. So first off, let's talk about the chords in the verse. So it starts out with a D major. Then you go to C, and a G, F, same thing. Now you got a G, F, D. You'll do that 4 times. And that's your whole verse section. So coming right after that is this iconic part. It starts out with a slide up to the 11th fret of the G string, and then you'll bar across the 10th fret of the B and the E strings and pick E string, B string. And then you'll do a pull off from the 12th fret to the 10th fret of the high E, and then hit the B string again. Now you'll move that whole shape down and go G, B, E. So. Like that. And you'll do that same sort of pull off. So 10th fret of the high E string to the 8th fret of the high E string. Then you'll hit the B string and the G string. Just like that. And then you'll make this little staircase triad. This is following an E minor chord. You got the 9th fret of the G string, the 8th fret of the B string, and the 7th fret of the high E. Just like that. So you got this. So right after this E minor triad, you've got this here. So your middle finger is going to go on the 7th fret of the G, ring finger on the 7th fret of the B, pointer finger on the 5th fret of the high E. And you'll pick G string, B string, E string. And now you'll move to this shape here. So your middle finger goes to the 4th fret of the G string, pointer finger on the 3rd fret of the B string and the E string. So it's the exact same as earlier on in this lick. You got that pull off right there from the 5th fret to the 3rd fret of the high E. And then just a B and a G string. And it ends with a strum on the D. So it sounds like this. Now, it's a pretty tricky lick. So I've created the tabs for it. You can find it in the lesson materials. Go over to that and just slow it down however much you like. Loop a certain section if you feel like you're just not getting it, and then slowly try to bring it up to 100% speed. When Phish plays the song live, they usually have an extended jam over one section that alternates between a D major chord and a B flat major chord. The chord changes sound like this for that jam section. That's it. Just the whole time. Now, as you probably noticed, the D chord that you're playing throughout this whole song is a D major, which make it a little bit confusing that actually it's best to solo in D minor. My explanation for that is the following. When you listen to this jam section, it doesn't sound like the typical major progression, right? It sounds a little bit more dark, a little bit more angry than a very, very nice major sounding progression like Friend of the Devil or Franklin's Tower or something like that, right? It's got a little bit more of a drive to it, a little bit more emotion. So with that in mind, but also knowing that Trey usually plays in D minor, that's where you want to play for this. As an intermediate, I'm assuming that you are aware of what triads are. And if you aren't, that's totally fine. You can go to the 2 lessons titled Cage System Overview and then Triads from the Cage Shapes, and that will show you what I'm talking about here. It might also be helpful to check out the minor triads lesson since we're dealing with a minor progression here. But if you're already aware of what triads are and how you can locate them and what their best use cases are within soloing, then this is how I would attack it. I want to start out by finding one triad for each of these chords. Now, I mentioned that we're soloing in D minor pentatonic, so it would make most sense to find a D minor triad over that D chord. There's a D minor triad right there. Now, the second chord is a B flat major. So all I want to do is, sticking again in this same pentatonic, I want to find a B flat major triad. There's one right there. I can pull that from the C shape of the B flat major chord. Right, so I've got my two triads. Now, what I want to do, since these chord changes are actually pretty slow, right? You're hanging on them for, I don't know, like 10 seconds each. So you can really target these notes and play some phrases around them and get to them pretty easily, opposed to, a song that has super quick chord changes and you can barely even keep up with the triads as is. So what I recommend doing is using the pentatonic scale as your foundation. So let that be all of those filler notes you play and all the minor pentatonic licks that you know. Keep playing those as is. But over each of those chords, say you're playing over the D, hit one of those notes from that D minor pentatonic. Just try to center some of your phrases around those chord tones. Because then when you move to that B flat major chord and you do the same thing, it'll sound like you're really following that progression. So this is what my solo would sound like with that intermediate approach.